All right, so the rankings room has come out and apologized. Or at least the rankings room has come out to correct their own mistake, and they did it publicly. The rankings room thought it was a good idea to have Volkanovski as the number one guy fighter in the world. Now, they had Volkanovski at number one, replacing Kamaru Usman before Kamaru lost. Make sure you understand that time frame. Because I've had to read comments where you've corrected me. No, Kamaru was kicked in the head by Lynn. I got all those things. When Kamaru walked into the ring for that fight, coming off nothing but victories, they took his number one spot away and they gave it to Volk. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. This is just what happened. So we kept Volk there last week and the week before. The week before that, the week prior to that. So they've now come out to admit that they had it wrong. Not only did they not know who was number one, according to them, according to our rankings committee, not only did they not know who's number one, not only were they not skilled enough in this sport to know what they're looking at, they didn't even know who was number two. Some bitch, they didn't know who number three was or number four. And they finally admitted all this. Because they have come out today and they have put the number one pound-for-pound fighter in the world as Islam Makhachev, the guy they told us was number five. Last week. Week before that, the week before that, and the one prior. So they are now admitting they don't know what they're doing. Okay. How do you get to that conclusion, though? I mean, do you understand the courage that it would take? And they've shown courage. It's very rare, but they have done it. I mean, I'll just give it with Sugar Sean. Sugar Sean was ranked number 10, beats in a controversial decision, and they move him to number one. Good for them. Like, that took a level of courage. He never should have been 10. That was way too low. So what do you do with the guy you said was 10 when he just beat number one? You got to give him the spot. And I give them credit for that. Now, they were in a position today to show courage. The right thing to do, obviously, glaringly obvious, is you keep Volkanovski at number one pound for pound. You put number one within the division to Islam to show respect to what we saw. You keep number one within the division of 45 to Volkanovski, followed by Rodriguez to show respect to what we just saw. Then you do the pound for pound. You know what you just saw. You just watched a fight end with the little guy that was a 3-1 dog on top, pounding out the other guy. You give him the nod, because that's what pound for pound means. And I must tell you guys, it irritates me beyond explanation to be corrected within this sport. I will tell, I've been around people before. Top reporters, top athletes. I've been around people. And when I'm there, I always think when they ask me, it's because they've heard all the arguments. Now they want the answer. Like when I tell them, here's what we're going to do, or here's what needs to be done and why, I'm not sharing an opinion. I am the only guy in this sport who's fought it, who's commentated it, who's coached it, and who's promoted it. So I got to hear from four other lacks who've never made $1 in this sport, right? They're putting out some .com and somebody's paying them per word. They're talking to a guy who's made money in the sport. There aren't but 5 of us alive. So when they finally get to me, I give them the answer. I don't share an opinion. I give them the answer. It is the final say once it's said by me. I really feel that way. And most people do as well. Most people will credit me with that and say, let's share opinions and then we'll go to Chael, who will make the decision and let us all know who was right. Most people do, but not always. Every now and then there's a new guy or there's an up-and-comer. I didn't mean an up-and-comer that got paid $90,000 a year plus benefits from a .com. And he thought he had made it. He thought like he should share his opinion when I'm sharing mine. It was mind-boggling to me. It was absolutely mind-boggling. But I also have to hear what your opinion of pound for pound means. And I've had to hear it from Ariel, and I've had to hear it from Dominic, and I have to hear it from Candido. So I came out live on television, a little network called FS1. And I cited the reporter out of Brooklyn, New York, who in 1976 coined the phrase. And they all, you should have seen them. it was Candido, and it was Dominic, it was the whole Becker, all of them. Jaw drop. They had no idea. I, of course, would have done that before. I didn't know that they didn't know. I didn't know that people in our sport, that you go around and just apply definitions. Pound for Pound was done by a boxing reporter in 1976 in Brooklyn, New York, to try to discuss and see, here's where it gets relevant. Here's where it gets relevant. Because I don't need to hear your opinion on what it means. You don't get an opinion on what it means. The gentleman who coined it has poetic license over what it means. And he simply defined it as, if size did not matter, meaning they all weighed the same. So now we're operating purely off the skill and tactics. Who would beat who? So it's very, very straightforward. You have a 45-pounder who didn't burn his boats. He's going back to 45. You have a 45-pounder who didn't believe in himself. Now, he worked hard. He has some damn good coaching. But nobody was more surprised at how competitive that match was than Volkanovski. Till about 6 minutes in, then he realized, oh man, I can beat this guy. You have a highly controversial decision. Highly. I mean, to put that fight in, I'll tell you what, if that were me, if you were in Westland and that was my hometown, they would still be booing. They would still be throwing things. They would have done every visual so that everybody watching knew the 17,000 there had my back and that those three judges were wrong. Now, I can't say they did that in Perth. They did a lot of good things in Perth. I mean, they really did a special event, especially for a dump. I mean, believe me when I tell you, you don't want to go to Perth. They put this fight on in a dump, and these people really did do a very good job, except for that. It seemed to be, oh, ho-hum. We got a 3-1 dog who's undersized and outmatched, who just put a beating on that guy. Not only did you not give him the belt, I believe you're not going to give him a rematch, which the history of this sport, there's rules, right? Of course you got to do a rematch. Then you're going to take his #1 ranking away. You're going to add insult to injury. You had an opportunity as the rankings room. You had the opportunity to be the adult in the room. You had the opportunity to supersede the mistake made by the judges. And that's all that we do in the sport. I mean, just so you guys understand. Do you know what a TKO is? Do you know what that means? When Big John McCarthy steps in and pulls another guy off. Do you know what that means? It means the corner failed to do his job. If your athlete's getting pummeled so bad that the referee needs to step in and pull him off, the corner should have stopped the fight. When the corner fails to do his job, the referee will step in and do what's called a TKO. Just like when the referee fails to do his job and the doctor has to get in the ring and make a recommendation. Just like ultimately, if we have to turn it over to the judges, it's to supersede and circumvent a responsibility that was failed in the step prior to you. And the ranking room had an opportunity to use every benefit that we know as man. As a human, we understand the advantage, the absolute power, the almost unfair certainty of hindsight. They had that power. The rankings committee has hindsight. They have group thought. They have replay. They have full discussion. They have every advantage in the world that the dumbest person would know when to put it on green. And they had an opportunity to fix what was failed. And as sure as night follows day, they did not do it.